So we're on Zayin Amud Beis, and we basically ended on Friday by saying there was no need to make a steer between one Rav and another, because we really misunderstood. I don't think we finished that Rashi, did we? Or in the middle?
I don't think we did.
Right, so let's do the Rashi again, and this will just sort of give us a little bit of a recap of the answer, and also segue back into the next Gemara, which is really going to take us back to the old Gemara. So I guess we got to sort of get back into it anyway. So we had these two cases, and they seemed to contradict Rav, the Psak of Rav Yosef, the second halacha of the case of the Rechava on the back of the Mavi, seemed to have contradicted Rav in two different ways. And we then came back and said, well, you're missing a point, because Rav never said, when he said that the Mavi is Asur, that it's also to carry the Mavi because of the breach. It wasn't because of the breach, it really depended. And whether or not, kan she'ivru, kan shal ivru. So we'll do that big Rashi one more time. Klaimar. Meaning to say, Hi Mavi also the Rav, when Rav said you cannot carry the Mavi, that's breach to a Chatz, which is breach to Rishus Rabim, it's qualified. It's not an unequivocal statement that all times it's Asr. Sometimes it's Asr, sometimes it's Mutter. If there was an Eruv made between the people in the Chatz and the people in the Mavi, then the Bnei Mavi could carry. The Hada Asale Rav, because when the Rav said originally that it was Asr, and we thought it was because of the back wall, Lav Mishim a foolish Kasali. That was a mistake. It was not because of the breach to the Rishus Rabim at the top of that T. Could the Kamino come on? Like we're going to say in a case where the walls don't line up. We'll get to that. It's later on in terms of another qualification in this halacha. But it's not a case where it's not because of the back breach. And the fact that Rav threw in a line which sort of misled us in the Havamina, and the fact that he spoke about the fact that there was a breach in the back wall, it wasn't for that, saying that it depended on that. It was Mishum Rabusa. It was for a bigger chiddush. It tells you in a bigger chiddush. The Chotzer Nokat. Again, V'hainifritz Chotzer Kenegdo Mishar Busa the Chotzer Nokat. It was telling me a chiddush about the case of the Chotzer. The Alfagav the Rabbim Nichnasul La Bezu Yotzin La Bezu. Even though there are many people who come in and go out through this breach, through this back wall. Afilachi Sharia. The fact that Rishus Rabim people or the Chutzah people might use that back breach to Olympic as a way of getting in and out of Olympic Boulevard, that's not going to bother me. Afilochi Sharia, even despite that, with an Erev, it's going to be mutter to carry the Mavi. Since it's breached less than 10, the Choshev Kapesa Chutzah, it's considered like an opening of the Chutzah, like a doorway. But the prohibition of carrying in the Mavi, which Rav said, has nothing to do with the Pirza, with the break and the breach on Olympic. He says, the problem of carrying the Mavi is because the Chatzar is open to the Mavi. And that's the problem. The back wall was never an ultimate factor in that Psak Halacha. They asr when there's no erev. The kivan they have a milua pirtu, because to the people in the mavui, we know as the diagram showed, it's basically straight through. Right, there are no extensions that in any way close up that mavui. So the mavui goes straight through. Look, you can see Olympic, and that's unacceptable. One second. El Mishud the Bnei Chatzar Asrele Kilo Irva the Kivan Delidei have right. It's not the back wall, right? This is the front wall, the front of the bottom of the T, so to speak. That's open straight through. So the Chatzar and the Mavi have a seamless connection, which is a big problem if there's no way. But it's not the back wall; it's the front wall. Okay, udurei chotzer osir love, and the people living in the chotzer aser the people of the mavui, which we know is the basic concept of why you need shtufei mevos, is because it's two different types of usages which are mingling, and that's a problem halachically. And but the people of the Movi does not answer the chutz. Okay, like we say in Perikol Gagos, we're doing that the Rashi in the middle of that big Rashi. Like we say later on, the Avsadi Beis, by a big chutz that breaches into a smaller chutz, Dure Gedola Bikatana, Shifra Katana, Dure Gedola Bikatana. So the expression that was used is that the people, the living in the big one, affect the little one. Kloimar, what does that mean? The Gedola come up to against the katana. Kloimar Eishim b'katana. Okay, you're prohibiting carrying in the smaller chatadidu who the bottle legabah, because it's a smaller chat which becomes bottle to the bigger one. Vein direi katana b'gedola. Okay, but the people who live in the smaller chutzah don't answer the larger one. They'll gabe gedela pesachu. Okay, because by the gedol there is a pesach. So he's just making a distinction, Rashi, between the people of the mavli who cannot carry because they're smack smoothly open to the chutzah without any type of walls, closing them in, and they have an open breach to the chutzah, so they can't carry. But the people of the chutzah don't have an open breach; they have walls, right? If you're in the chutzah, you are surrounded by more walls than opening as you are in the top of the T. So you're good to go. Right? If you have two chatzeros that there's a pesach between them, they don't ask for each other. People can have side by side backyards or front yards, whatever chutz is really a front yard, but certainly they're not going to ask for each other. The front yard of A does its business, the front yard of B does its business, and the fact that they're contiguous, since there's a fence separating, everything is good. Because I'm reading a perchaloin. Nifratz mikoisal adesra amisim rotzu marvin shtayim v'rotzu marvin echad. They should go pesach if they want. They can make a joint 2 eruvs, or they can make 1 eruv. It doesn't make a difference. Either way is good. They should go pesach. It's like an opening. Ushneim returns up his end. The two of them could carry one to the other. Okay. So now we're at the point, as we mentioned on Friday, that there is no need to make a machlokes tanoim. Machlokes Amaron, Rav and Shmuel could ultimately have agreed. We misunderstood Rav, and the world is good. Okay, but in Eruvin, that's not good enough. In Eruvin, we have to fulfill our mandate of it being one of the 3 hardest masechtas in Shas, and therefore we're going to go back to what we thought back on Friday in the Havamina and analyze the Havamina, because the Havaminas also have a lot of worthiness about them. So even though whatever we're about to discuss is not the way the Gemara ended, so you'd say, why are we going back? We're going back because there's always little nuggets of important stuff even in the Havamina. So that's what we're up to in the Gemara. 1 second. Do we have one more Rashi? Yeah, one more Rashi. Sorry. The Rav Nami Lo Tikshe. So once we were able to explain Rav in what he meant by his halacha with the back chutzner and the mavi not being able to carry, now we understand that nothing to do with the fact that it's the back chutzner wall. That's not the problem. It was the front chutzner wall that's the problem. So the Rav Nami Lo Tikshe Klaimar, meaning to say, was never really it wasn't a stira, but whatever. Klaimar mehashta metzil meimar Rav Yehuda b'dara derusa karav avdoa. Now we can say that when Rav Yehuda said his halacha in the village of shepherds, which got us into this whole quagmire in the first place about a potential contradiction between Rav and Rav. He says, it could be very well be that he followed Rav. That he did what Rav said, what Rav Paskin. Like we said, kan shirva, kan shel Eruv. It really depended on whether there was an Eruv or not. And when Rav Yehuda mated the people in that village to carry in the Mavui, it could very well be that there was an Eruv there, and that's what allowed them to do it. And had there not been an Eruv, it would have been prohibited, but it would not have been prohibited because of the back wall. It would have been prohibited and the chutzah, correct. So he says, "V'kan shaloi iru ubruchavdol lekadiorin lemisel amavi," and there Right, and in that situation, there was no in the Rechava. There are no people who live to Asra on the Movi. Okay, right. So but in the case of the shepherds, you didn't have to get into the Erev. But in Rav's Aloch, you had to get into whether you made an Erev or not, because there you're talking about a Chutzner. But in the Rechava case, which is the shepherd, the city of Shepherd case, okay, which was the precursor to the problem. In that case, it was a rechava. It was a back lot, and because it was a back lot, you don't have the whole Erev issue because you don't have people high usage situations which are merging with the mavli. So in that case, he said on a blanket level, it's okay because the only problem there was the back wall. The back wall is not a problem. The front wall is not an issue because we're talking about a rechava. So everything, the world is good and everything is resolved. Okay. So even though there's a little dot there, the little dot is just a precursor to more complications. Okay, so now we're ready for Chesam and Aleph. Okay, so let's dive into this. Ulamai desalaka dait meikara. That's why everyone talked about Chavetz Chaim being into Havaminas, and not just Chavetz Chaim that's into Havaminas. You see, the Gemara is into Havaminas. The Gemara is very focused on what people thought because what the thought also had relevance, and you wanted by learning the clarity of their thought process and what they thought, you understand, obviously deeper things because the person thinking this was an intelligent Moira who, clearly had a grip of things properly to a certain point. Maybe there's one thing he missed, but everything else was right on. So let's see here. That which we thought originally, which created this problem, that when Rav said that you are not allowed to carry in the Mavli, which was breached to the Chutzner, which was then breached to Olympic, was that it didn't make a difference whether there was an Erev or not. Even if there was an Erev, you couldn't carry in the Mavli, which then would have put us into the situation where it's the back wall that created the problem, and that would create a stira between the shepherd case where the back wall didn't create a problem. That was the thought process. When you were thinking that, one more time, L'maydus al kadaita meikar ben she'irvu ben shle'irvu pligi be'irvu b'may pligi ben shle'irvu pligi comma be'irvu b'may pligi b'shle'irvu b'may pligi. So please tell me, my dear rabbis, what is it that they were arguing about? Because remember, the statement was that there's a contradiction on two levels. There are two issues. Okay, so when they made an erev, what's the machlokis, and when they didn't make an erev, what's the machlokis? In your grip of the fact that there would have been a double issue, a double contradiction in Rav's opinion versus what Rav Yehuda paskin, what was your grip of the machlokis in the Erev case, when the Bnei Mavi made an Erev with the Chutzner, and what was the machlokis in the case where there was no Erev? Okay, so be'irvo my pligi, b'shleiva my pligi. So what were they arguing in both of those scenarios? What's the underpinning of the issue at play? And let me tell you now the Gemara answer. I'll tell you exactly what the underpinnings were. We sort of know this already, but the Gemara never articulated. But with Rashi, we sort of touched upon this. But now we're going to say it out. Okay, so the answer is as follows: B'shloi irvu pligi. In a case where there was no erev, the machlokes is, which now the issue is the mavi with the chutzner, right? The mavi with the chutzner. There was no erev, so now I've got this interactions going on between a mavi going up flush into a chutzner. So b'sholver pligi b'niro min b'chut v'shom mifnim. Okay, the machlokes would be what is the status of a mavi that looks completely smooth going into the chutzner. So from the mavi's positioning, you can't see any walls, right? All you can see, you look straight out and you see Olympic Boulevard. You don't see any walls. But if you're in the chutzner, you see a lot of walls because when you're a T and you're the middle line of the T and you're looking straight through. If that T is broken and there's a little break in the top of the T, you're not going to see the walls of the T. But in reality, there are walls around you. You just can't see it. So if the walls can be seen by the people on the inside, but can't be seen by the people on the outside, namely in the mavi, are those called walls? Okay, if you can't see the walls, are they viewed as walls? Or are they not viewed as walls? Okay, that's one machlokis. Let's see Rashi. Ulamai desal kadait mikara. The ben yivru ben shlo yivru pligi. That feel be irvu asarav. That even in a case where there was an erev, Rav would still say it's usher. The time of mishum foolish. And the reason is because it's wide open. It goes straight in. V'dafkin if it's a chotzer kenegda kamar. Okay, it's only when the chotzer is reached on the other side. Okay, right. In other words, in the case where there was an Eruv, you can't tell me that the problem is. Oh, in the case of the Eruv, you can't tell me that there's a problem between the interaction between the Eruv and the chotzer and the mavui because you made an Eruv. So in that situation, the only problem is it's the fact that it's breached out to Olympic. That's going to be the problem. Right, one more time. The afilu be'irvu asar rav. That in the case where even when there's an Eruv Rav said it's asar. The time is shema foolish, and the reason is because it's breached to Olympic. V'dafkin if it's a chotzer kenegdai kamar. It's only because of the fact that the chotzer is breached on the other side, on the top of the T, to Olympic Boulevard. But had it not been for that, there would be no prohibition between the Mavi and the Bnei Chotzer. V'ad Rav Yehuda de Shmuel, and in that right, and that forces us to say that which Rav Yehuda said, that psak of Rav Yehuda had to be Shmuel. V'shari be'irvu, okay, and it would have been mutter who said it's mutter in an Erev, Kigo and Ruchava. Like, for example, in the case of a Ruchava doi boy Erev, because a Ruchava doesn't need an Erev, so being a Ruchava is the same as being a chotzer that made an erev with a mavi. Ruchava, which is a back lot, is the same thing because it doesn't need an erev. The avagav the nifritza ruchava connected. Even though there is a breach in that ruchava in that back lot to Olympic, okay, it would make a difference. We also below year. We also asked it when there's no erev gabi chotzer. I feel on nifritza, right? And in that havamid, there was a second issue where let's say there was no breach to Olympic, and you didn't make an erev, then also would be is usher, because that's how we were medayik from Rav, that he focused on the fact that there was no erev between the chotzer and the mavi. I feel an ifritza. Okay, since he only said ruchava, didn't say chotzer. In the case of Yehuda, the implication would be that there would be a prohibition to carry in the chotzer had it not been a ruchava. So you see that there are two issues at play. There's the issue when the wall is breached to Olympic, and there's an issue when there's no wall breached to Olympic. And if there's no breach, that means the top of the T is closed. Then the issue only could be the issue of carrying between the rechava, between the mavi and the chotzer, or the mavi and the rechava, depending on what the case is. But that also is a point of contention. So what are what's the underpinnings of the logic of those 2 points of contention? He says be'irva the isura mishum pirza shekenegdahu. So when in the case of Erev, where in the case where they made an Erev, clearly the issue cannot be the intermingling of the chotzer and the mavi because they made an Erev. So that must be because of the breach to Olympic. But my pligi, my time of the Rav, what's the logic of Rav? The choshelim foolish. Or my time the Shmuel the lokarlim are foolish. Why does Rav call it an open mavi? Why does Shmuel call it not an open mavi? What's the underpinning there? That's one question. And the other question is b'shaloi yirvu kiloi nifritza, when there is no breach in that back wall. So let's just close up the Olympic now. There's no entryway into Olympic. My time of the Shmuel, the Amar B'nei Chotzer Asri Amavi. Why would Shmuel be saying? Because remember, Shmuel only picked the Rechava case. Mashma had it been a Chotzer, would have been Asr. Why would he say that the Mavi cannot carry with the Chotzer? Well, my time of the Rav, the Malay Asri. And why would Rav say why it's not Asr? Right. So these two issues at play. Remember, this is what we said on Friday as well. Rav would be Machmer in one of them, and Shmuel would be Machmer in the other one. Rav would be Machmir in the case where it's open to Olympic, but Shmuel will be Machmir in the case where it's closed to Olympic, but there's no Erev, that there you can't carry, and Rav would say you could carry. So we want to know what the issues are in both of these cases. So on issue number one, in a case where there is a closure of the back wall, and there is no Erev, what's the machlokes? And the answer is, right, this is in the case of B'shaloi Yervu. The machlokes is b'nirim b'chutz v'shab mifnim. You can see it if you're outside the mavi. You can see the walls, but it's smooth when you're inside the mavi. Okay, I don't know what, but that's weiter, right? This is not. Yeah, I think that's the next. That's the next Gemara. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, the pligi ba amaroy lekamon bepirkin. We're gonna have machlokas later on. Daf tesamid base, so it's coming up real quick. Ikel man di oma nidon kinira mishneit stadin. Okay, you according to Zamandia, which says you judge it as if you look at it from both sides. Vikil man amadeno the vikil man the omar eno nidon. Okay, and one says you don't. Okay, let's see. V'hachanami hanach gifufei disel chotzer ha'oitfim al rochav pirtus hamavoy. Okay, here too, the extension walls that exist to the chotzer that are above and beyond the width of the opening of the mavi into the chotzer near b'chutz, they do appear to the outside people. They do appear to the outside people. Okay, so if you're right, so the right is. I just wonder if it helps to look at it for a minute. Yeah, we're getting fancy. There's high-tech stuff here, right? So going from left to right, to the far right street there, that's a Rishus Harab, that's Olympic. Okay, so if you're inside that little, that's a Rechava. Okay, but let's say that would be a Chotzer, that when you're in that little box, okay, don't move around yet, right? Keep it. So then you have walls. You're looking at walls, but if you're looking from the Mavi's point of view, you don't see any walls, like we said a number of times. He says, "Period Mavi near in Mibachutz, to those people standing in the chutzner, there clearly are walls. Continue that block away the Mavi, even though they don't physically block them, but there are walls of the chutzner that separate the chutzner from the Mavi. Lo merze kaisel paris below. It does not look like a complete breach of the mavi into the chutz. It does not look that way. V'yoser meyasenami lo havei. Okay, it's not more than 10 either to call it too big of a breach. Hilkach, therefore, avgav d'sham ifnim, even though, yes, it is smooth to the people in the mavi, it's very smooth and you don't really see anything. Alright, even though it's true that it's smooth, flush up against the chutzner, it goes straight in, and if you don't see that wall, and to them, when you're in the mavi, it appears that there's a complete breach all the way through. But according to Rav, those extensions of the walls around the chutzner will be good enough to make it like an opening, to look at that opening not as a breach but rather as a doorway. L'gabi mavi, as it relates to the mavi, the same way it's made into a doorway for the chutzner. Right, so if you're in the chutzner, you look at that opening and that's my doorway. That's my way to get out. Okay, the same way you can look at it to the people in the chutzner, it's all a question of perspective, we have the right to look at it that way for the people in the mavi as well. So when you look down the mavi, what do you see? You know what? I see a doorway. There's a doorway that leads me into the chutzner. So it's separated. If it's separated, then I'm in the mavi, I can carry. Okay, that which we learned later on that the smaller chutzner is aser, mukim lo rav Nichnosin kaisei ketana l'gedola. The lekanir in b'chutz. Very proots of Melua. Okay, we have to just get to that case. That's later on. We alluded to this earlier in the case of the small chutzner into the big chutzner, but we're not going to mix these two gemaras. Avul hacha pischu, but over here, that case is different. Here, it's a real pesach. It's a legitimate doorway. Af l'mavi, and it works even for the mavi. V'asher b'nei chutzner l'mavi, and the b'nei chutzner don't answer the mavi. And here's the obvious question that we're all in the back of our minds asking. So let's say even if it is a doorway, okay? But isn't there a classical rule that when you have a chatzeros that are open to a mavi, okay, you need a shtufei mavos, right? Isn't that why you need a shtufei mavos to carry the mavi? Because your entranceway, you chatzer that are going to be using the mavi, okay, are going to intermingle in the mavi. And l'chari, you have to merge all of the chatzeros with the mavi to allow you to carry. So why over here are we allowing you to carry the mavi without a merger of the chutzner? Why isn't there a standard need of a shtufim avos, which is the typical? Isn't this the typical case where you need shtufim avos, where even if there are doorways, right? In the typical structure that we talked about in the beginning of the Masechta, that if you have a bunch of chatzeros open to a mavi, if you want to carry the mavi, you need to merge them. We never said you only have to merge them when there's no opening, no doorways, and this and that. No. There are doorways. Every chutzner's got a perfectly closed physical door. But if you're going to be using the mavi, that requires you to make a shtufei mivos. So why isn't that a factor here as well? That forget about that it's considered or not considered a doorway. Even if it is considered a doorway, you shouldn't be able to carry the mavi. The answer is it's different here. Let's see why. Rashi is going to answer the question. He says, where are we here? Yeah. But and when the bnei chotzer do not answer the mavi. Even though typically, even with a very, very good doorway, typically, if you have a bunch of chatzeros open to a mavi, that will prevent you carrying in the mavi. That was the fundamental answer to the question of what is a shtufa mavos. If it had been, and we might very well get asked that question one time on a Final Jeopardy in Mashiach's day. So explain to me why you need a shtufa mavos. Why is a shtufa mavos, and when is it necessary? This is the answer we're going to have to give. It's necessary to allow you to carry when a bunch of chatzeros open to a mavi. So why are you able to carry here? The answer is, he says, Vadi also loves zu, but in this case, Hayul ve'ein regila bo. The bnei chotzer in this case. Okay, and again, there's a rechava there, but that's not. It should be a chotzer. The bnei chotzer that are in that chotzer. Okay, now we just moved it to a chotzer. They never originally used that mavi to get to Wilshire, right? The left is Wilshire, the right is Olympic. So they had access to Olympic, but before that mavi's wall fell down, that made it wide open. How did they get out? They get out through a different mechanism. They didn't get out through the mavi, so they didn't have constant access. When we talk about shtufa mavos, it means the only way to exit the chotzer is through the mavi. That's the way it was designed lechatchila. When it's designed that way lechatchila, now you need a shtufa mavos because there's constant intermingling. But the original way that this chotzer was designed, that breach of the mavi into the chotzer was never built that way. It was a wall that fell down. That's what Rashi is telling us. Let's see it inside. Originally, that wall was closed up, and therefore, if you had a chotzer that only opened to Olympic and never saw the mavi because the mavi had a closed wall and it would never access the mavi, and now somehow the mavi falls, that's a different story. That chotzer is not going to answer the bnei mavi because originally, when this thing was built, we never had a relationship. You didn't see me and I didn't see you. We never intermingled because that wall shut you off from me. Kamina Perak Misho too. Shena Regila boy, mutter. If you're not used to traversing that area, it's mutter. Ushmol Savar. Okay, so that takes care of Rav perfectly. He holds it's mutter because we look at the walls from the inside of the chutzner, and from the inside of the chutzner there truly are walls there. Either people in the Mavi can't see it, big deal. Okay, one man's blind spot is somebody else's perfect vision, and I've got perfect vision when I'm inside, and that's good enough for you guys who are blind on the outside of the chutzner.
Yeah, but where can't you see? You're on the inside. I missed that.
The Mavi. Well,
okay, you're in the Mavoy, and then
you look straight out. Look right.
Okay, I'm taking a right.
Right, you look at north. You're looking north in the Mavi.
Right.
Do you see any walls?
That one is
well, I see.
Wrong diagram.
wrong diagram. Yeah.
Look.
Pretend there's no. Right there. That one.
Which one?
Yeah.
The one with the cow thing. Sorry.
Right, make believe there are no walls. I mean, that's one. Okay, make believe it's a chutz. That's fine. That's the best picture, right? So you're in the Mavli. You're looking due. In this case, it's north because right.
North is to the right.
I mean south. Sorry, south. So you're looking towards LAX, right?
Yeah.
So now, do you see any walls?
No. Well, I see a doorway. I see no
walls.
No walls, and then to the.
You're looking due east. Maybe fair. Right. Maybe you'll make believe it's a map. You're looking due east. So. You don't see any walls.
That way.
Right, exactly.
No walls, yeah.
Oh, but if you're in the chutzner, if you're in that little, you know what I mean when I say I'm in the chutzner, where it says Rechava there, that area.
That's a chutzner,
okay. In there, do you see walls around you?
Well, I see a couple of walls, and I see a breach.
Yeah, you have 4 walls, and you have 2 breaches under 10. Okay, you have to remember that a breach under 10 is like a doorway.
Yeah.
So I am completely surrounded by 4 wonderful walls, and I have 2 doorways, one to Olympic and one to the Mavi.
Got it.
Okay, so see, even though when you're in the Mavi you don't see the walls, but the walls that function for the people of the Chutzner are good enough to function for the people of the Mavi.
Okay.
Going in that direction. What about the other direction?
Both direct. What do you mean? The Chutzner is completely surrounded by walls. Got walls from every side.
Not the Chutz of the Mavui.
So I just said that even though there are no walls to the Mavui at the top of the T, but the walls of the Chutzner.
Right, but if you go to the left of the Mavui.
I know what's to see.
Right. So that opening is
Well, I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean? When you
Point to
go,
it. Why don't you point to it? Go up and point and what you're asking.
if I'm standing here, and I look that way.
well, but you have a Lechi. That's Wilshire. That's Wilshire. There's a Lechi right there.
That's on the outlet. Like,
Yes, you have a legit Lechi, and everything's good.
on the inside. Okay, it's on the outside. No, so it's on the side of the wall that I am.
Yeah, that Lechi's legit Lechi. Everything's good.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Right, that part is good. Right, now we covered that part. The only part is here, but you're opening on the other side. No, I'm not opening on the other side because the walls of the chutzner can serve to close up to make the T close. Okay, Shmuel says nothing doing. Ein nidoin mishum shirei mishum shir lemavui. Okay, you do not view it as sort of a left, shir l'mavli. Okay, so I guess a wall, a remnant of a wall that can work for the mavli, or pirti. Okay, and it's viewed as a complete pirza. Udurei chatzar osner love im la yivru, and therefore the members of the chatzar who live in that chatzar prohibit the mavli if there's no erev, because I don't buy this magical vision. Okay, what just because you can see it when you're in the chutzner, if I can't see it, it ain't real. Okay, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, and therefore Shmuel is much more of the pragmatist. Rav is more of the philosopher, and you can philosophize those walls in your imagination because they do exist. To somebody standing in the chutzner, they're there. They're just not there for me. So that's a very beautiful machlokus between Rav and Shmuel.
But when you're in the Mavoi looking towards the Lechaber or the Chatz or whatever we're
Right.
calling it, we're saying you're not seeing any of the walls?
Well, if you're looking at an angle, you can see them, but if you
No,
look,
I'm saying,
Yeah, show
You
'em,
can't.
show 'em.
look, even if you're standing here and you're looking this way, okay?
Right.
So these walls are obviously blocked from the walls of the Mavoi. And these are so far back, but they're saying you're seeing right through this breach and you don't see either of these in any way?
Well,
That's what we have.
well, even if you saw those two walls, that still would help you as far as me.
Who are you?
It's like that, you look straight through.
Okay, so go ahead, say it again.
So I'm looking at that's a woman pushing a carriage on Olympic over there. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what that picture is. But whatever it is, it's somebody pushing a stroller on Olympic Boulevard. I'm in my muffin. I'm looking straight through. Now, obviously, the closer you get to Olympic, you're going to start at an angle, see the walls.
Yeah.
But essentially, to a guy in the far back end
Okay.
of the muffin, you're by Wilshire. You're not going to see it.
Clear
You're
shot.
not going to see anything. It's going to be straight through. Now, ironically, we're going to change from this. This is going to change when we get to the next Amid. And this halach is actually going to not be the case of Rav, because this is actually not going to be good. It's going to have to be that the
Offset.
it's moved off to the side. But right now, this is our world, and we've got a perfect setup, but a perfect doesn't work that long in Eruvin. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so now we have machlokus.
The next Amud.
Okay, we have machlokus number 1. Now let's go to machlokus number 2. B'she'irvu, the Yisur Mishum, next Rashi, the Yisur Mishum Pirza Shek and Egdo. So in the case when there is an Erev, and now you can't carry, according to Rav, because of the opening to Olympic, okay, who Palid, but Rav Yosef, they're arguing Rav Yosef. The Omar, actually, yeah, we did the Gemara on this. Okay, no, let's go back to the Gemara now. Okay, B'shlo irvu pili gibin erev b'chutz v'shav v'nim. Be'irvu kamifl gibin Rav Yosef. Okay, and when there is an erev, they made the machlokis. The argument is in Rav Yosef's positioning. Then Rav Yosef lo shanu el shekol lem saruchava. Okay, because Rav Yosef is going to come along and tell us. Okay, and this is sort of our first introduction to Rav Yosef. The only time that it's Mutter is when the mavui ends in the middle of the rechava, meaning that basically exactly what we've been saying till now, that there's a nice rectangular rechava, and the chutzner ends up in the middle of the rechava, and you're surrounded on all four walls. But let's say the rechava is not, the mavui doesn't end in the middle of the rechava. Let's say the rechava is off to the right. Okay, as now I think you can see in the diagram.
So which one are we talking about?
That one, the one on the right,
Okay, so
73.
Start again, please.
73.
Yeah.
So in that case, the mavui does not, the rechav is not a rectangle that encompasses the mavui on both sides of its walls, right? You see the difference between this and the earlier case?
Yeah.
Here the rechav is all to the side. So if you're going straight down on the Wilshire side of the wall, right, of that mavui, it's all flush wall, all the way down to Rishus Rabbim. So in that situation, you're not going to be able to carry. So based on Rav Yosef's distinction between whether the mavui ends into completely on the rechav on all sides or only on one side, he said, right? Lo shanu el shekol emser rechav. The old heta we gave is when the mavui ends up in the middle of the rechav. Avakol tzidei rechav, but if it ends at the side of the rechav, aser. Okay, it's usher. So they're arguing in this principle of Rav Yosef about, ending in the middle of the rechava. Okay, let's just do the Rashi, and maybe hopefully we get this. Let's see. Ubishirvu the sur mishum pirtzu shnegdohu pligi bit Rav Yosef. The issue of the back wall being breached to Olympic Boulevard, okay, that's the basis, and it's in Rav Yosef. The Amar Lo Shanu the Ein Tzar Klum, that which was learned that you don't need to do anything to carry in the mavui that's breached to the rechava, that's breached to the back wall. This was in the city of the shepherds. El Shekol Mavui Le'emser Rechava. It's only if the mavui ends in the middle of the rechava. The kivim the rechava shel rechava oidef ala mavui, because since the width of the rechava extends on the mavui on both sides, it does appear that the mavui ends into the rechava, and then you've got a legitimate ending. It does not extend up to the Rishus Rabbim. You'll never come to then from there extrapolate that a mavui mefulish would be mutter. Rav Savar, since Rav says, sorry, bud, since if you're standing in the mavui, roll a beis rosh and Rishus Rabbim, you see at the two ends, on both ends of Rishus Rabbim, you see Rishus Rabbim on the Wilshire end, you see Rishus Rabbim on the Olympic end, and there will be people coming in from this Rishus Rabbim to the other, derech mavi through the mavi, rechava and the rechava asr. Therefore, I say it's asr. So the question is that they argue about this concept that if there's a flush entranceway from one side to the other, even though yes, it does end in the rechava, and you have a top of the T, but still the top of the T doesn't actually close you off, and you see Olympic, then we're going to say it's asr, and we'll pick this up tomorrow.